So here are some interesting photos. The first one is from 1889, very small. I'm not sure who it is. It's on a kind of a hard backing. I also don't know who this gentleman is, but looks like an older one as well. This one, I think, is Mike with his mom on the right. I'm not sure who the other person is. Excuse me, not Mike. This is Sandy and his mom, I think. So that's that one. Here's Martha as a young girl, very young girl. This was probably taken at the same time. It's Mike. It's a young boy. This is Grandma Liveright as a young woman. Not sure what the date is on that. This is a picture of Sandy standing next to Lauren Bacall and Charles Boyer. I did look it up, and they did make a movie together in 1945, and that's probably, I don't know, the other two guys are probably moguls from the movie industry. And finally, here's a picture. I'm not sure who that is. I think it might be Mike, but I'm not sure who it is. This is Mike with his mom, Grandma Liveright, in 1939. This is a family photo. It looks like they're on a trip somewhere in 1949. So Martha would have been like 8, 7, 8. That's Mike. Looks like he is a teenager. And that's Martha and her mom. That's probably in the 70s. That might have been our trip to Chincoteague. I'm not sure. This next batch of pictures is from Grandma Liveright's pictures that were sent to her by your mom and I from Tanzania. There's the batch of letters, if you're interested in the letters. She kept all the letters we sent. And here are the pictures. I'm not sure what that is, but it looks like we were in Dar, and your mom was with some friends. That was taken also in Dar when we were there for a track meet. That was taken, I think, near our house in Moshi. That's the faculty, some of the faculty at the school, with Mom. This is Mike with his mom, Grandma Liveright, in 1939. This is a family photo. It looks like they're on a trip somewhere in 1949. So Martha would have been like 8, 7, 8. That's Mike. Looks like he is a teenager. And that's Martha and her mom. That's probably in the 70s. That might have been our trip to Chincoteague. I'm not sure. This next batch of pictures is from Grandma Liveright's pictures that were sent to her by your mom and I from Tanzania. There's the batch of letters, if you're interested in the letters. She kept all the letters we sent. And here are the pictures. I'm not sure what that is, but it looks like we were in Dar, and your mom was with some friends. That was taken also in Dar when we were there for a track meet. That was taken, I think, near our house in Moshi. That's the faculty, some of the faculty at the school, with Mom among them. We're at Old Moshi Secondary School. There's another one of Mom in that same pose in the at Old Moshi. And the rest of these are really just Pictures of Old Moshi Secondary School, and I doubt if you'll be interested in those, but here they are. That's the school from a distance. One of the buildings, I think there's a classroom building, entrance to the school, bunch of pictures of student life. These are all annotated on the back. There was a big track meet that I put on. We took a lot of pictures of that. And there are pictures of the kids playing in a game. This is probably that. This is members of the track team that I think maybe we took to Dar. We had a cross country race every year. You can see me running to try to get out of the way of the race. And that's during the cross country race. I think it was a 4-mile race. That's the end of the race. You can see some of the students are a bit tired. And that's just a picture, I think, of a field near our place. So this is a batch of letters that your mom sent from her travels in Europe in, I guess, 1964, 65, 63, 64. The gap between college and when she went to grad school. And I met her in 1966, so 65, 66. And these letters here are letters that she wrote home from college, from Reed College. So at least I think they all are. So that's what those are. I didn't notice any particularly interesting photographs among any of these letters. So yeah. So that's 2 stacks of letters. Here to Isaac Albert Liveright. So I think that was your grandfather's mom and dad, and 1906. The envelope says Alice and Albert's wedding invitation. And this is a wedding announcement from 1881, announcing the wedding of, Martha Springer and Alexander Fleischer. So all of those documents are in the folder called My Graduation. And here we have a folder that Grandma wrote on pictures of young Martha, many duplicates. So I'll open that and show you those. There's a baby picture. Then a whole bunch of pictures that look like they were taken at the same time. I think the date is 1945 on these, so she would have been 3 years old. Here's the next batch is in a folder that I just wrote number 1 on it. So this is a bunch of miscellaneous things. First, there are these 3 notes that are written by, I think, Martha to her dad at a time when she was pretty peaked. Can't tell how old she was, but you can kind of tell from the writing that she probably wasn't all that old. The first one starts out by saying, "Dear Dad, you are a ungrateful person, a blamer, a stinker, a devil, an angel with horns," and et cetera, et cetera. And then it's signed Martha. P.S. You also start diseases with your breath, which gives you also a cough. And then the second note is similar, but much shorter. And so is this third note. Okay. Next are miscellaneous pictures from, looks like the 40s. This one is Sandy and Dot, probably, it says Tahoe, I think, on the back, so that's a vacation trip. This is Mike and Martha at, says at Mom's Maura's 90th, so they're at some affair. Sandy with his mom and dad, and looks like Mike. Not sure who that is. There's your mom as a ballet person. Looks beautiful. And then a whole bunch of, or not a whole bunch, half a dozen, sort of just family snapshots. Looked like they were all taken around the same time. Probably the late 40s. Backyard stuff. I like that one. Looks like your mom and Uncle Mike fixing up the house. Your mom's on the ladder. Just looks like early 40s maybe. Mid 40s. Mom out for a walk. Family photo. Another family photo. Thank you note to her grandpa Albert, I think. And this is a batch of documents in that same folder having to do with the National Merit Scholarship. This first one looks like it's a press release. Oh, that's a letter. No, it's press release. And there's some certificates and some other things in there, including a little paper she wrote. So there's some papers of hers. A poem she wrote on Thanksgiving when she was 9 years old. A couple of poems written for Albert on his 90th birthday, or excuse me, 80th birthday. So that's, Albert is Martha's grandfather, Sandy's dad. Nice 8x10 picture of Sandy. I'm not sure what the date is, probably early 40s, maybe. And in this envelope is a cutout from the New Yorker of a nice little article written in the sort of, the beginning parts of the New Yorker where they have little interesting little vignettes called Nostalgic Twins. I'm not sure of the date of the article, probably early 50s, but it's about Addie and Babette Liveright, who had a bookstore and were encouraged and helped in starting the bookstore by Horace Liveright. And it's a delightful story about the two young ladies and the bookstore that they ran in New York City. So, New Yorker article, very nice. So that's that folder number 1. Those last two are October 1909, as well as this. Next, we have a bunch of albums. Let's see, seven or eight, maybe 10 albums altogether. Most of them are about Sandy. The first album is Sandy, 1907 to 1920. He was born in 1907, so it's his first 13 years. These two pictures are dated December 1907, February 1908, March 1908, June 1908, June 1908, more June 1908, October 1908, Those last two are October 1909, as well as this. This, by the way, that's his dad with him. More October 1909. November 1909. November 1909 was his birthday. Second birthday. July 1910. July 1911, Lake Placid. Still at Lake Placid, but now it's August 1911. Atlantic City, 1912. Or rather, these are just called Atlantic, so it may just be someplace other than the city. Atlantic, 1914. No, 1913. Someplace 1914. 10, wherever that is. February 14. May 1914. June 1914. Oh, now we're up to August 1914. It's like they're still at the beach. Looks like we got some color. How'd they get that? Oh, now it's 1915, I think. Definitely 1915. Lots of pictures with their dog. August 15. I couldn't read the dates on these, but maybe still 1915. 1916, growing up. Lots of beach pictures. Still 1916. Going fishing. Okay, looks like 1917 now. $19.18. Nice bike. Birthday present for Dad, 1918. $19.19. Atlantic. More beach pictures. Lake Placid. $19.20. Can't tell where that is. Sandy diving off of his canoe, looks like. Looks like he got a uniform there, scout uniform. Okay, the next album is called Sandy Pictures 1916 and 17. This may be an album that he created. It's there, that says mother, so that's his mom, I guess. Dad. It says mud, maybe? Oh, it says Fräulein, spelled interestingly. Lots of scenery here, pictures of things, interesting things. That's one of his dad. The others are just scenery. Now, the war was going on now, so these might have something to do with the war. And all these, I think, are upstate New York. Some pictures of their house. It says our house. More outdoor snapshots. Outdoor snapshots. Not sure what that is. Maybe a postcard. Page of pictures of some parade somewhere. Maypole. Various other things. Some kind of a funny pose. And that's the end of that album. This one's called Sandy, 1918 and 1922. From the quality of the writing, I would assume this is an album that Sandy compiled himself. Looks like summer camp. Fishing. Nice catch. More fishing pictures. More summer camp pictures. Ooh, skinny dipping. Atlantic City, 1920. Familiar stuff. I assume this is his scout uniform. And this is the scout camp, probably where he was. Cabin. So these pages just have a lot of scout camp pictures. This is Atlantic. Not sure who this is. It says, it says Sandy. Page of dog pictures. It says Vernersville. On the golf links. More golf. I think this says Mother's Den, Mother's Couch. I'm not sure what that is. My room. My desk. Den. Not sure who this is or what this is. This is Emma Liveright. Emma and Aunt Gretchen. And this page says, pictures taken with a vest pocket autographic Kodak by Sandy Liveright. Picnic, picnic. Lots of outdoor scenery, falls, river, etc. Girls at my party. Cool. Party. It says me. Is that him? Don't know. Assume so. Baseball game. This is pictures, Camp Kennebec pictures, 1921. Ball game. Big Shaw. Anabaska Land. Something. Staged by Uncle Eeg or something. So this looks like a play that they may have put on. Shirley Sadie, Uncle Bill. Okay. The Toreador. Okay, this looks like some kind of play they did, maybe at camp. And then this says, end of camp pictures. Okay, 1921. So these are all camp pictures. Now we're back home. My den. Bookcase. View from window. Bob Cohen. This is Uncle Gurr. And then just some scenery, and then another one of Uncle Gurr and Aunt Blanche. Okay, more camp pictures. Camp Kennebec. I'm going to go faster through these. This is him, me. Okay. Me, again, him. Pictures of him with various friends. Uncle Thaddeus. Mrs. somebody. So these are just pictures of people from the camp, I guess. Probably not interesting. Just more pictures from the camp. Oh. Me, Mr. Newberger. Okay. Okay, this might be worthwhile. The uncles, etc. So these are various uncles. And there are lots of other pictures of people at the camp. Uncle Tad got in a lot of pictures. Go on. I'm going to skip a bunch of the next bunch of pictures because it's just the same old stuff. So I just skipped about half a dozen pictures of Camp Kennebec. The next group is Kennebec trip pictures, which I'll assume are very similar. I'll go through them and may skip them. This first one may be interesting. It's called The Gang, so it's all the various people who were on the trip. There may be some relatives there. So I skipped about 10 pages of pictures, pretty much all the same thing, and that's the end of this album. This album has the note on it, Sandy Camp, 1923, and Trip to Europe, Stella and Bernie, 1924 or so. Photograph album of Sandy Liveright. Camp Pictures, 1923. The Boss. These are intimate pictures. Seem to be a lot of guys dressing up as girls at these things, so for what it's worth. So I skipped the rest of the pictures from that camp. It's about 10 pages of pictures. The next one is Goxabexus Trip, 1923. I don't know where that is. This first one says Camp Number 1. Okay, so this was another camping trip. There is a picture with all the people, I guess, that went on the trip. Maybe it's a canoe trip, I don't know. I'm skipping most of the pictures in this section, but here is a fairly nice picture, I think, of Sandy, maybe. Here's Sandy with some friends. These are not annotated, so I don't know who these people are. There are a lot of pictures of people in here. And that is a familiar pose for Sandy Liveright with his pipe in his hand. Another couple of nice pictures of Sandy. At least I assume this is Sandy. Here's an interesting picture. These may be interesting people. I just don't know. There's no annotation for it, so. There was no label to indicate where we are now, but I'm thinking this might be the start of the trip to Europe, because there are boats and things. For instance, here's a picture of a liner. So, the guy who looks like he might be the captain or some other official. And that's the end of that album. Next album is called Summer Trip, Mike, Martha, Dot, Sandy, Alice, Albert. So it looks like the whole family. Just from the age, I'm guessing this was the mid-1940s, maybe? Late 1940s. There's Mike and there's Martha. Nice picture of Sandy and Martha. I'm just going to show select pictures here that I think are maybe interesting. Mike. Martha and Dot. Martha was some fishermen. Caught a fish. Dot caught a fish. Nice family picture. So you get the idea. This album is fairly short, and it has a few nice pictures of people. And here's one labeled Sandy, 1919, 1920. And this is another album put together by Sandy Liveright, I believe. Inside it says Alexander A. Liveright, 1919 and 1920. Not sure who that is. The album has quite a few pictures of people that I don't know, and they're not identified. But some you can tell. More Atlantic City. Not sure who this is, but it might be Sandy with his mom and dad. Not sure. Most of the pictures are just scenery or people I don't know or whatever, but this might be an interesting one. This is Aunt Helen in Granny's room, and Helen and Granny's room. So this album has a lot of pictures, but I think most of them are of things that are of no interest, and those that have people are, it's hard to figure out who the people are. So that's what this album is. And the last one is labeled Half-Filled Pictures of Trip West taken by Sandy, Dot, Mike, and Martha. The last of the photo albums. There's another album that I'll get to next that's newspaper clippings. So it includes a map showing the route west that they took on their trip to Los Angeles, then up the coast, and then back. I assume they went to LA first and then back the northern way. So I'm only going to include pictures that I think are interesting and that have people in them. So obviously it's going to be a lot of scenery, but I'm just going to skip that. Although we have to show that they visited the famous Corn Palace. Got a postcard. Now that I see the pictures, it does look like they took the northern route out and the southern route back. This looks like Martha. And there's a nice picture of Sandy and Dot. Lots of pictures of this young lady. I'm not sure who she is. There's nothing that identifies her, but like a piano player. Photo with some friends they're visiting. That looks like that maybe that's some same lady who was playing the piano on the left there. Nice picture of Martha holding a cat. I have a picture from Tanzania of her holding a cat. So it's nice. Compare the two. And that's pretty much the end of that album. There are quite a few more people pictures, but I don't know who they are, and they're small and hard to figure out. So, but anyway, this album kind of abruptly ends. So, okay, that's that one. The next two items are called scrapbooks. They're very large. It's about, 18 inches by maybe a little over a foot. And they're a scrapbook. And I don't know, they're just full of items that seem to be about Sandy's mother. So it seems to mostly cover the periods from the early 30s to, say, 1934 or so. But I found some documents in here, like here's one dated 1919, where she's being appointed as a member of the executive committee of the Republican Women's Committee. So she was involved in political stuff very early on. But here's one, Pinchot to appoint Mrs. I.A. Liveright to the Deputy Secretary of Welfare, and then shortly thereafter she becomes the secretary, the actual Secretary of Welfare. One really interesting thing is that early on, like here at 31, at the beginning, she's called Mrs. I.A. Liveright, and you can read these articles, and nowhere in the article does it give her actual first name. But by 1933, it's Alice Liveright. So I guess after she was in office for a while, she was able to not be associated as a person in terms of her husband. So these scrapbooks are very interesting. They seem to chronicle the political life of Alice Liveright, Sandy's mom, mostly from the time that she became involved as the Secretary of Welfare, but there's an awful lot of other material. She was quite involved in political things. The earliest document that I've seen so far was dated 1919, and I believe it was in the 1930s that she became Secretary of Welfare, 1931.
You done?
No,
But, I mean, are you paused?
I can pause, yes.